Hello and welcome to the Marketing Times Analytics Podcast. I'm your host, Alex Sofronas, and today I'm on with Alex Buttler. Alex, you've been on the podcast before, but give everyone an update and an intro of yourself and what you've been doing recently.
Yeah, good morning, Alex. A pleasure to be back. For those who didn't meet me back in 2022, my name is Alex Buttler, and I have been in the marketing technology software space for roughly a decade now. When I first joined the Marketing Analytics podcast, I got my start at a company called Adverity, which focuses on enterprise data integration. So Alex called me on and said, "Hey, let's have a chat and talk about tech." And now, as we kick off season 4 of the podcast, I'm able to bring a few more years of experience now, having that focus in the enterprise data integration space, and wanted to lend some insights in terms of the evolution of marketing analytics technology and see what kind of questions arise and what kind of topics might be relevant around that space.
Yeah, so, Adverity is a longtime sponsor of the platform. So I'd love if you could just take a quick moment to talk about what Adverity offers in the market and any recent developments or anything you'd like to share about the company.
Yeah, absolutely. Marketers can only make decisions with available data. So Verity is designed to make that data available and in the easiest way possible. We can quickly enable a data engineering team to get a marketing data pipeline set up where you can aggregate data across any source you might need. We can transform that data to have it speak a singular data language that meets the needs of your business, and then load it anywhere or even visualize that platform within itself. So that's what we're designed to do. Not every organization has the ability to get that data in a seamless way, or marketers sometimes need to rely on a very busy data engineering team to get that data. Another kind of value proposition of it is the ability to utilize software to free up data engineering resources, as well as be able to aggregate and get all the data necessary to make informed decisions for the business.
Yeah, I really like that because data infrastructure is a big challenge for businesses, big and small. And, it's tough to say if it's harder if it's a big company or a small company, because with the big company, you have the complexity challenge. And then with the small company, you have the resource challenge. There's different ways to approach that problem. But I think there's a lot of value in the marketing and analytics world of creating a solution that really makes it easy for your business to manage all of that marketing data. And then I also believe I saw there's like solutions or at least some more complex data capabilities that Adverity offers on top of that marketing data that's being fed into the platform. So I think that's really valuable too, that Adverity takes that next step as well of not just aggregating, but also processing that data and allowing us to extract insights and make decisions from it. Yeah.
I always try to bring empathy to my clients where I can. And especially in this position where before I joined the technology space, I had a short time in media buying. And so I was the guy, over a decade ago, putting together all the Excel sheets. And it was my job to make sure that all the media planning was reconciled. And it was my job to provide performance reporting and, well, what did we spend? How did we do? Right. And that was my full-time job, and even working overtime compiling these Excel reports and dealing with different reporting taxonomies that I would get across all the different vendors. My first position into marketing technology was more in the consumer engagement side, email marketing specifically, and just general kind of dynamic content. What I learned is I really started to learn about personalization and then what is needed in order to create those personalized experiences in a owned media channel. And it all came down to data. Half of my career was in content personalization and the power of creating these integrations with all these data providers got me intrigued around those data providers themselves. Is like, well, how are people able even to build these UIDs and access all these data points in order to create such awesome personalized experiences? So that's what drove my eagerness to get more into the data and analytics space. I want to understand more of the back end technology. How are we getting that data today? And so that kind of led me back to where I was in media and more on the media performance optimization side. And, kind of led me to where I am at Verity today. as I speak with my clients, like I was saying before, I could still empathize with them. I used to have to sift through these Excel reports. So it's really exciting to be able to provide them a solution where they can breathe, they can get their data on demand rather than having to wait for a queue of an IT team or a technical team to compile those reports, giving them the power to, when the business has a question, let's answer it today. Let's not have to wait.
I'm curious, how do you think this is going to evolve in the future, this process of marketing measurement, analytics, and then insight generation? How do you think that will evolve in, let's say, 10 years or maybe 20 years?
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about what it used to be because some organizations are still forced to live in kind of the manual chaos of what I was describing that I was dealing with 10 years ago. And companies are still having that challenge right now today where they're trying to figure out, do we invest in more subject matter experts? Do we invest in engineering? Do we invest in technology? So today, my pitch is choose the technology route because at the end of the day, we're going to be able to allow you to do more with what you have, but also enable a scale up where even if you do decide to invest in more resources, you can almost turbocharge or exponentially scale up when bringing on more resources, right? So, in its most simplistic form, like you were mentioning, there's maybe some small companies who are just like, okay, yeah, of course, you don't want us to drop a ton of money on the software package, but there are technologies that are built for small business and for the SMB space that it's as easy as plugging in your ad accounts, sign into Facebook, sign into Google, and they're able to quickly turn around analytics. Those are kind of those quick win types of software built for the small enterprise. And those are really valuable solutions. A KPI that I talk about with my clients all the time is around time to insights. Generally, everyone's talking about time to value, right? But value is very broad. When we talk about marketing analytics, in what is the end state of what we need? It is insights. We have business questions that need to be answered. When working with my clients, I always like to look at the ratio of time to insights and how do we reduce that? Is Adverity a perfect fit for every organization? No, because there's some folks who just need something more basic, right? I just need to see how my Google ads have been trending month over month. And I don't want to have to pull 12 Excel files and manually compile them myself. There are some great softwares that you could just sign into your ad account and you can say, I want a performance report. You set up the filter to show month over month or week over week. Great. So today I'm able to quickly pull that report together, that dashboard together. And today I can update my Google ads bidding or optimize my audiences to be more effective. Verity, I was at a company called Paragon, which was exactly that. We called ourselves an actionable performance monitor. And keyword actionable is pulling that data together. If the data is not providing you the insights you need to take the next action, then it's time to start rethinking of how you're pulling together your insights, right? So what our platform was designed to do was to accommodate these marketers to quickly just sign into Google Ads, sign into Facebook, sign into TikTok, right? All paid social and Google, quickly be able to see where are my deficiencies, where are my campaigns not doing well over time, and which ones are doing well. And then we let the marketer make that decision, right? Without the need of an engineering team or an IT team to pull all that data together, they can quickly get access to that and then optimize their Facebook or Google campaigns. Now, those requirements are pretty basic. As we start to think about scaling up to the larger enterprise, those business questions start to become more advanced, such as, well, great, Google and Facebook are performing well, but how is that impacting the bottom line? How did all this spend correlate to conversions? And how does that third party media data and success KPIs tie into our first party sales data? So creating that data unification across third party data channels and first party data channels is the next step of data maturity. And I have a good visual we'll go into later after I finish my progression here. But That is really the next level of, we're not just looking to understand how well our digital media is performing. We need to really finish the funnel from top down and get analytics from impressions served to attributing a new customer or a returned purchase as an example. We can use D2C, or sometimes the even more challenging ones are for B2B customers. Where we have a lead gen program, we need to understand how our LinkedIn efforts attributed to a deal close, but this typical sales cycle, 6 to 9 months. So how do we tie that data together? So now we start getting into the realm of data technology evolution, in which the technology should not be designed to tell the marketer what they should be looking at. It should be designed to accommodate what the marketer is trying to solve for, be more accommodating to the enterprise, because every business operates differently, just in that D2C or B2B kind of use case combined, right? Everyone has different KPIs, everyone has different data taxonomies that will dictate kind of that top to bottom funnel of impression served to a conversion rate. So the biggest challenge, that every organization is going to have their own unique data language for first party. The benefit is that on the third party realm, it's less unique, right? Facebook is going to have their out of the box reports. Now, as we start to get to the next realm where these are much larger companies, well, we're not just spending on Facebook and Google. We have a whole paid social team. We have an SEM team. We have our email marketing team. We have a whole programmatic arm through an agency. We need to see all that, and we need to get all of that together. We don't want to just look at Google ads. I need to see for my entire SEM department how we're performing, and we need to unify that. Paid social is up to 7 different channels across paid socials. We need to unify that. We need to say this was our total investment in paid social, and then bring that all together, and then across all these different pillars within digital media. And so that's where technologies like Adverity and other ETL platforms are very valuable, where we can aggregate that data, make it really easy to get that data, then give you the solutions to allow all those different providers who have different reporting languages, combine them to your data reporting language, unify it through data transformation, whether that's done via the ETL solution itself or it's done in a data warehouse. Bring that together to then connect it to that first party sales data. Now we think of, today and the last 3 years as being able to, there's lots of providers that are like, we can get that data for you. We can happily bring it together, right? But then even where kind of Adverity starts to sit on the sidelines is like, we've done our part. Offense just came off the field. We just scored a touchdown. And then now we got to let the defense hold it down. As an example, this is when, say, a data warehouse team has to come in and say, all right, well, now we have all this proprietary business data that we would traditionally never allow a third party software to even access, right? This is one of the biggest challenges around that first party data side. How do we match that with all of our paid media? We're able to get it all, and we're loading up our data warehouse with all this data. But the next step around that data maturity journey is being able to create that unification, the data unification, that UID, as I was kind of talking about before. And so I feel like that is the biggest challenge when we think of current state. So when I think about the future, is right now it takes a lot of IT and data engineering resources to kind of build that criteria, to build that documentation, to build that standardization of a data foundation, right? Being able to have a programmatic system in place that dictates how the third party marketing data will be attributed to the sales data. So then they could tell that full journey down the line. I'd like to see providers working together to solve that issue faster and more efficiently via technology, rather than having to rely on a data engineering team to put that infrastructure together. That's what I would like to see kind of down the line in the evolution. Some teams, I talked to some clients who said, if we can code, we prefer to code. Some clients are like, anytime we can remove the ability to have to rely on a technical resource, we're going to go that realm, right? So for the latter, in that case, I like to see technology partners start to partner up and say, hey, how can we enable a no code kind of experience where, all right, Adverity can connect, it can work with Salesforce as an example to be able to quickly tie the dots rather and take that really manual step out of the process. That's what I'd like to see in terms of advancement in the next decade. We could start going into the more advanced reporting, but I'll take a little pause there. Alex, I'm curious to get your thoughts.
I think you're right. The timeline is a little bit shorter. Hopefully, when I think about the future of marketing analytics, I think about it a little bit like the progression of science or medicine, in the sense that in the beginning, there's a lot of experimentation and very little standardization. And I see that in marketing right now. Everybody sort of has their own take on this ideal marketing structure. And we all have similar ways. They all rhyme. There's looking at the same level, the same upper funnel metrics and lower funnel metrics, and measuring how offers change demand. But a lot of these things aren't truly standardized across marketing. So what I would like to see is more of a codification of how marketing should operate at different types of businesses, and sort of an update to traditional or legacy marketing optimization principles, and sort of a move into more heavily researched marketing. So, we don't learn a lot from industry studies. Like there's consumer research that does sort of do this, but when you're at a business, oftentimes marketing is almost seen as an art. There's not like a set of steps that you should take. And if there is, it's like whatever the marketer maybe read in a book they recently had. The point is, across the industry, marketing is not very standardized. So what I would like to see is more of a standardization in the process of how marketing works. So Adverity is a great platform for enabling, but then what is the process, right? Like, what are people using it for exactly? What questions are they answering? And I would like for it to be more standardized in the future so that there's less guesswork. And if you liken it to, say, the way that the medical industry works, if we were to rewind like 100 years ago, there would be far less standardization in the way that people cared for people. And now there's like ubiquitous standardization, I think, for the most part. The interesting thing is the standardization has not always been in our best interest. In some cases, it's in the best interest of the industry. So there is that side of it that we would have to be careful for. But I think by and large, the theory of standardization is better than the theory of sort of everybody doing their best, but not necessarily agreeing and coordinating across industries, across businesses on how should we optimize marketing. You have people who are in the revenue side who love tying everything to revenue. You have the people who are on the sort of balanced side where there's some things we can't measure, some things we can. I don't think there's anybody who's like, we shouldn't measure anything. But that's what I would like to see in the future of marketing. I find myself oftentimes questioning what's the best strategy and then relying on my experience. Why isn't this like a more professional or structured process? There's like doctors, they have to go through formal training and then they have processes for how they save a life. We don't have processes for how to save a business with marketing. So that's what I'd like to see.
You really teed me up well to start talking about what is the visual that I wanted to share today. Can these technology providers provide that standardization? And so you teed me up really well to kind of talk about Adverity's approach in 2025 of how we want to help with onboarding and ongoing kind of thought leadership and professional services, right? The way you were talking about standardization, I think about what we call data foundation, right? The data foundation is the standardization of how this business reports on data. And we're not even talking about just marketing data. The ultimate end state that we want to be getting our clients to quote our CEO, is being able to have businesses democratize their data. The highest level of accessibility and collaboration across departments to heavily decrease that time to insights ratio and drive the business forward as a strategic revenue driver, as you kind of see in the top right of our data maturity curve, we call it. So ultimately, every department, all departmental data is combined where relevant and are driving revenue based on standardized business reporting. Whether how how does that one IO or how does that one campaign in Google Ads affect the way that we start forecasting inventory, right? This is how getting to the level like that where totally different departments that might not have been collaborating before are now starting to collaborate, where the more, how we spend in marketing kind of dictates, you know, what vendors we need to be using for inventory fulfillment, right? That's like the ultimate end state to be able to drive efficiencies with data. But it all comes down to creating that effective data governance. We need to get past that manual chaos. Automated integration is great. We can get the data, but if the data is not standardized, how effective can it be in the immediate state of where it sits in a data warehouse, right? How actionable is that data? So our goal is, whether a new client or a current client of ours, wherever they sit in this data maturity curve, is really what dictates our thought leadership and our recommendations on where we should start. You know, we're pulling everything from the native platforms and we are putting in a Google Sheet, and then Tableau, that's what it taps into, or Power BI, whatever it might be. We want to get them to stop spending all that time manually aggregating data and create that automated integration. Some folks might be coming from a out of the box SMB provider, but they don't have the granularity that they need. They'll say, Alex, we can report everything on campaign level data, but we need to start seeing things at the ad level. And then furthermore, we can only see things at the national level. We want to start drilling down to geo. We want to start doing things as granular as DMA. So this is where we want to start developing these clients up to the top right of this data maturity curve. But also, I always set expectations. It's like, well, walk me through your entire data infrastructure. Walk me through your modern data cloud setup, because ultimately we have partners in the data warehousing space, such as Snowflake, that enables our clients to get to that next level. Adverity is going to do a really good job of aggregating that data, doing the initial data cleaning, doing data monitoring, assuring that all that data that is being ingested to and loaded to, say, Snowflake, is at high quality. Our platform has the ability to essentially detect, hey, are there duplicates in this data based on some specific business logic? Is it meeting that criteria or not? If it's not, don't load that data. We don't want to be in a place where the data engineering team has to spend unplanned time to clean up a data warehouse because this ETL platform loaded it up with unclean data. Auditing it with data quality procedures is going to allow you to start getting into proactive capabilities. Proactive capabilities is now, okay, great. We have all this clean data now in our data warehouse. Our data engineering teams have been able to figure out the data unification piece. How do we associate, sales data with marketing data? Then you start to see increased collaborations between departments, where, say, an operations team is now having monthly meetings with marketing. That has never been done before, right? This is the types of increased collaboration we can have when data connectivity and data warehousing provide a strategic value, in which it becomes standardized, automated, and then the time to insights measure decreases pretty significantly. And so this is where we're starting to see kind of the next phase of customers who make these investments in marketing analytics technologies be able to start getting to the farther right of this visually here. is, okay, great. Well, we've standardized everything. We're auditing it now to make sure the data quality measurement stays high. And then now we could start having our departments take that extra time for collaboration and then get to that strategic revenue driving activity where they can start to scale data scalability, creating templates, right? Being able to quickly copy and paste infrastructures that you have built for one department for another. Or, each time there's a new marketing campaign that provide a new brand initiative, how can we quickly copy and paste what we built for the previous one for the new one? And rather than having to rebuild any pipelines or rebuild any kind of procedure, scalability comes into play to ultimately create that data democratization where any department who needs to answer a business question can go to a singular source of truth and answer that question to the business.
I like that a lot. I think it's similar to if we were to look at cars, for example. So starting with the sort of horse-drawn carriage, very early, very manual, breaks down a lot. Actually superior in some ways to the early versions of cars. But then cars came in, replaced the horse and buggy, and those progressed for a long time, but still very manual. Driving was very manual for the vast majority. But, tools came along that made it a little bit easier. You had the check engine light instead of checking your engine. You had all these indicators that told you if something was broken. So this is not an automated state by any means, but it's almost an assisted manual. You still have to do everything yourself. And then you get like the parking brake sensor, or the sensor when you get too close to things. They started to add little features. Driving started to get more advanced, but still not autonomous by any means. It was assisting the human, right? Driving cars continued to improve in how well they could assist the human. And now we are getting to the point where cars can replace the driver. And basically, now we have this autonomous driving in an autonomous car. I would postulate we are moving towards autonomous marketing as well. And I'm not sure what the timeline is, but all you have to realize to know that that's coming is if you ask a marketer to create a viral clip, they cannot do it. Okay? If they can't do it, then a computer can definitely do whatever the human being is doing. I mean, if a human being could just create a viral clip, the average marketer could just create a viral clip, I would say, okay, there's no, like, I don't think computers can replicate it, but the vast majority of marketers would not be able to beat an autonomous marketing machine, especially if like an autonomous car could learn from every single company that the system was marketing. So I guess that leads me to probably one of the final topics I'll ask you about, which is how do you think AI will improve this process of marketing? Now that we've talked about all the data and cleaning it up and getting it into systems, how will AI change the way that we market in the future?
Yeah, Alex, I can't say enough how much your analogy just resonated with me. I'm very much into cars myself. That's the old school people who are just like, nope, I want a manual. I can outdrive any Tesla or, outdrive any 2024 automatic. It's like, oh, you need me to do a really tight parallel park in Brooklyn? I don't need sensors. But there's just some other folks who just like, I don't have time to learn all of that, or I don't desire to do it. So, oh, the new 2024 Honda Pilot, the parks itself. Perfect. I think what I'm trying to describe here is that every business, every marketer operates differently. There are some marketers who want to be incredibly hands-on and, they much rather update their SQL code rather than using an out of the box data transformation in a software, right? But I think to your point in terms of autonomous marketing, AI is the piece of the puzzle. Because when you think about the car that parks itself, the car that has the sensors, basically these manufacturers have leaned into technology. They have leaned into automations. And there are people who like it and people who say, this is a perfect fit for me. And so for those marketers who want to get to that futuristic state, the Waymo of marketing, you hop in and there's no driver. It's just an automated car that brings you to your location in the slowest and safest way. So I think the positives of bringing AI into this element is the conductor of all of these marketing analytics technologies. Because end of the day, there isn't yet one provider that's going to be able to do everything that we're talking about in terms of getting to the state of data democracy and being a strategic revenue driver with your data platforms. There's not one provider yet that's doing it all. So what needs to be done? Where can AI come in? I think of API conductor solutions like Postman and Airflow. But end of the day, who are managing those technologies? Who are pulling the levers? Those are your most advanced data engineers that have the ability to use APIs to be the puppet master and say, okay, the whole data pipeline is going to be managed via API. Marketing data analytics is how can an advanced AI come in and be that conductor, be the master of puppets as it pertains to connecting, getting the data from all your sources, cleaning it, monitoring it, sending it to a data warehouse, using dbt to create a data foundation you need, and then plug it into all your business intelligence sources so everyone within the business can use that data, right? That is where how advanced AI needs to be. Because think of all the different requirements and prerequisites that are going to be needed. AI is only as valuable as much as you give it inputs, right? So I think that in order to get started, we need to keep using AI. AI only gets stronger as it's utilized. If it just sits there, it's not going to be powerful. It's like you get a puppy, but you don't train it. It's never going to tell you when it needs to go outside. You have to train it, right? This is kind of, advice that I've gotten and I have learned from more AI experts is like, the model, you could build this model, but you got to exercise it every day. You got to really keep guiding this technology to do what you want it to do. So I think if this is an AI call to marketers, everyone start using it. Everyone start telling it what you want it to do, and then it'll start to learn. And then as OpenAI or other AI providers make advancements to join all those models, imagine all of these different AI models across all these different companies and marketers can then have a master AI analyze all those models, bring it together, and then say, this is the first marketing AI conductor, for example. And then this is where we're talking future state, right? Is organizations can say, hey, AI, how should I do this? Right. And then it says, I have access to all of these to all of these best practices. Here's how I'd recommend you build your marketing analytics infrastructure. And then they would outline it and then say, would you like me to build it? And you click yes. And then it builds it. That would
Yeah.
be kind of the coolest end state of autonomous marketing analytics.
I love this term autonomous marketing. I have not heard it before, so nobody steal it before I trademark. In fact, I may trademark it before this episode goes out. Anyway, I want to thank you, Alex. This was such an amazing episode. I love exploring the future of marketing analytics with you, and I'd love to have you on again sometime soon. And thanks everyone for listening. We'll talk to you soon.